Welcome to the second part of my vlog on our road trip on the west coast of Washington and Oregon. Sometimes it's hard taking some pictures when going on a road trip with family and friends because they want to be seeing the most points possible during the trip, which is also what I want to see. But I also want to take time to take some pictures, so I have to slow down and try and take some pictures. So you have to find something in between to still be able to take some pictures. So I'm going to be doing some FPV videos instead of this, so I can really show you how I take my pictures and how I go about it to still try and get some great shots, even though I don't really have planned to be scouting the location or planning too much my shoots in the wild. For the fifth day of our trip, we went down the beautiful coast of Oregon. We did multiple stops along the way to take some pictures and admire the views of the beautiful sea under this bright blue sky. We even spotted a few surfers, even though it was getting pretty cold and we had to have some warm clothes, especially with the really big wind blowing on us. In the middle of the afternoon, the conditions changed completely, immersing us under an intense fog that made it hard to see ahead on the road, but also to see the seaside that was right beside the road. We still did a few stops to get some pictures that came out pretty nicely because the fog just makes everything calmer and a lot less distracting in the end. So the first thing I want to talk about is that you're going to have to accept that you might not get the best light when traveling with family and friends. That's because you cannot control the weather conditions and you cannot force them to always go outside either early in the morning or at night to get the sunrise and sunset to get the best possible conditions. So for example, for me right now, this week is a very sunny week with a lot of blue skies, which is probably the worst conditions when taking some landscape photos. So it's not a problem, it's not a huge problem for me. I just try to change my types of shot that I take. So I'm going to take a lot more close-ups, show a little bit less of the sky to get less of the blue sky inside of it. But you really need to adapt and try and get the most out of it also. For the rest of the afternoon, we continued peeking through blue skies and also foggy areas. We got to the highest point of our trip and then we had breathtaking views and we made multiple stops even though we were getting pretty late on the itinerary. It was definitely still worth it making all these stops because the views were simply amazing. The last activity of the day before sunset was a walk in the sand dunes. We actually were searching for them but found the sea instead, but continued searching for them afterwards and finally found them at the entry of our trail. We went the wrong way when starting the trail, which explains why we didn't find them. But when we came back, a heavy fog was coming in again, making it very interesting and very weird views where we could only see part of the sand dunes. It's 6:40 a.m. It's going to be a pretty boring day today because we're doing a lot of travel. We do have a stop that might be a little bit nicer, but overall, yeah, it's a lot of travel. So I'm getting some coffee and we're going to be getting going in less than an hour. So I might not show too much of the road today and talk more tomorrow because tomorrow we have a very interesting day with painted hills. So we're currently at our only stop of the day at Smith Rock, and it's simply amazing. The rocks are super nice. It looked nice online, but it really wasn't showing what it is. It's way better in person. So if you're in the middle of nowhere of Oregon, this is definitely a place to stop on the way. It's super nice. So we're gonna be here for about another hour, take some pictures, some videos, and then we're heading to our next Airbnb. Okay, so we finally got to one of the places that was the most exciting to visit. I think we're on day 6 of our road trip, second or third day of this video. And it just seems like we're in a completely different place. It doesn't look like if we're on Earth anymore, with mountains that have crazy colors inside of them. And it's gonna be a great time to talk about other things about taking pictures when you're doing a road trip with family and friends. I got pretty scared because I just realized that I lost my little microphone here that I have in my hands. So I had to walk back up looking for it. And once I got to the top, somebody found it and gave it back to me. So that's pretty much a relief because I wouldn't have had the microphone for the rest of the trip if I lost it. So that would have been a bummer, but now I have it. I hope the audio is not too bad with this little microphone. While walking through these beautifully colored mountains, I wanted to quickly talk about my next tip, and it's to understand that some of the shots should be only to show your trip to family and friends and explain the story and the journey you went through, while other pictures are more for the ones that you're probably gonna be sharing, or in my case, the ones I wanna have on my wall in the end. That's my objective. It's not to be sharing the pictures, it's really to have pictures I like and I can be able to post on the wall. In a park like the one we are right now, so in the park here with these beautifully colored mountains all around, I want to have 3 to 5 images that are pretty good so I can print them and do a little series on one of my walls in my apartment. So that's my goal of the day. So I will take a little bit more time today to take some better pictures because I definitely have this objective at the end. But if I'm just going around in the car, things like that, I don't stress about getting good pictures because those pictures are much more important just to show it along the journey. So even if they're not perfect, if the composition is not good, that's not a big deal. So really think about when you're taking a walk, if you want it to be just for showing people what you saw, or if you really want the pictures to be the good ones that you're gonna be hanging on your wall in the end. Okay, so welcome to my first FPV video. So I'm just gonna walk through here. I already took pictures with my long lens, but I just want to take a few other ones using my wider lens. So here I want to have the colors of the separation of the two. So I'm gonna take it right here. I'm gonna go pretty fast. Usually I take a little bit more time than right now, but we're moving to the next point and not too long. So I'm just gonna quickly go around, take a few wide angle shots to get more of here. Here we have a nicely living path between everything, so I'm probably going to take a shot of the path going through and disappearing in the back. It's -2 for the exposure compensation and the shutter speed is automatic. this looks pretty good. Usually I look through my viewfinder, but so you can see what I'm doing, I'm actually not going to be using it that much. So I have another nice little path right here. So I'm going to try and get the whole S inside of it. So we're going to zoom out, take the whole path right here. Wait a second, move down a little bit. That seems pretty good. Let's continue moving. So I don't always go this fast everywhere. Usually I take a little bit more of my time, but I already went around here, so I had a few ideas of what I wanted to have inside of this shot. So here there's a nice little path coming down here through the colors. So we're going to take this too. It's at 16 millimeters. The views from up there were super nice. Oh, might be a little bit muffled because I had my mask on, but at the top here, the views were super nice, but I don't really have time to go up there, so we're just going to continue going on. So you see a lot of my shots are vertical. That's not a coincidence. Here I'm just going to make sure that the focus is on the mountains. I'm at f11, so everything should be pretty sharp. Okay, maybe a few last one. Just the two trees here, so I want to get the mountain in the middle. Again, being at f11 and the distance I am of everything should be pretty sharp. Oh, here there's a nice view with the mountain in the back. So definitely going to get the contrast between these two. So we're going to zoom in as much as I can. Pause it, go. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop it here and go back to the car and get to the next location. Back to some more FPV video, and I would say one of the tricks I use when taking a scene like this is always looking for some foreground details. Right here we have a nice little plant, so I'm going to open up my camera. I'm on my wide angle lens right now because I want to get most of the mountain in the background, but here we can take this nice little foreground here and snap the shot right here. If we move along a little bit, there's also some dead branches here, but we're not allowed to get out of the walking path, so I'm not going to do it. But if we get really close to the ground, so there's nice little colorful flowers here, so I'm going to open up my screen and I'm just going to get really close to the ground, and I'm going to change to have f2.8 for my aperture, so I can get more of the foreground blurry and more of the background just sharp. So we're going to just snap the shot here, and now we have a nice little foreground. Usually I don't look at my pictures that much on the screen right afterward, just because you don't really see if they're good or not. So I'm going to wait to be back home to take some more pictures. And we're just going to take a wide one here. So I think with the path turning around here, it's a perfect spot to get this at 16 millimeters. I'm going to go back at f11 to get everything sharp in this shot. Place it here, take the shot. And if you're wondering why I have everything at -2/3 of a stop automatically, is that I'm leaving everything automatic, but usually the camera tends to overexpose a little bit, so I use this to underexpose. Here we have a nice little tree, so we're definitely going to try and get a composition with this. So I'm not sure how to get it. I want to get some of that mountain in the background and also the nice view. I'm not sure if you can see over there. It's super nice. Actually, there's also a nice little valley here, so I'm just going to take a wide shot of this, maybe zoom it at 35 millimeters. Wait, we're just going to make sure the focus is on the end here. Capture this. My next tip when traveling with family or friends is just to take a lot of pictures. And this is probably one of the things that I prefer from digital photography, is that you can take as many pictures as you want without stressing out, and you can delete them afterwards if you don't like them. So by going around quickly, you don't really have much time to think about composition, scout the locations and things like that. So it's really better to just take as many pictures as you can when you see something that is interesting, and worst case afterwards you're going to go through them and you're going to delete them. For sure, there's a downside to that, and that it can take a lot more time to be able to edit the images afterwards. So it takes days, even sometimes weeks, for me to go through my pictures. Just in the last 6 days, I already took something like 1,400 photos. So that's a lot of photos to go through. But my goal is only to get in the end probably like 100, 150 that are really good, and probably get 15 to 20 that are really good. So just by taking a lot of pictures, I have a higher chance of getting some that are good. I think a lot of people think that all my pictures are always good, but that's really not true, and I can guarantee you that's not true for pro photographers either. And most of the times they're going to take pictures that are not that good, but they have sometimes, out of all their bad pictures, some that are really good, where they really took a little bit more time to get them. So this is really a trick. If you're not sure of your pictures, just take more time and take more of them, and then you're gonna have better chances of getting some that are good in the end. Also, the view here, just amazing. All these killer mountains, and I didn't even know there were some in the United States. So a huge discovery that there's this just a few hours from where I live, which is totally crazy. We're like in a desert and I'm in forest where I live. Like, it's totally different things. Our trip ended a little bit abruptly because on the 8th day, 2 days before we're supposed to end the trip, we passed a full 8 hours driving to get to our Airbnb. Once we got there, we realized that people were not respecting the local COVID guidelines, so we decided to go back home because we're about 5 hours from home at that point. At least on the way back home, we got a super nice sunset to end our trip. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting the like button below, and definitely subscribe to the channel for more videos on photography and filmmaking.